Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Vanessa Hintz, here to talk to you about self care and the Superwoman complex. First and foremost, I want to throw out all these disclaimers. A lot of generalizations are going to be made. This presentation is very cisgendered specific, very heteronormative, talking a lot about traditional gender roles. I use the term we because I do identify as a cisgendered woman. I also want to say that when I first made this presentation, the characters that I was talking about had very different experiences, as you'll see when we move forward. So pop culture rolls on and lives on just as we will do in this presentation. So first and foremost, to outline what the Superwoman complex is, ostensibly it's this idea that modern day women have to do all these things and they have to do it all at the same time. So women traditionally still carry a lot of the domestic duties and responsibilities. On top of that, women are either forced or expected to work. You're also expected to have a social life, have great mental health, have a great body, be spiritual, drink water, do all of these things. And not only do you have to do all these things, you have to do them all well, and you have to do them all simultaneously. And so what that creates then is what we call this myth of perfection, right? So there's this allure that as a modern woman, because I have access to all these opportunities, because I have, there's all these skills and things I can do, I should be able to do all of these things and do them all well. And so what happens is, again, we have that thought in our mind, and then we move towards self-evaluation, which means, okay, what do I have to do? Where do I want to improve? What do I have to do to get to this place where I can be successful in all of these different areas of my life? And so that evaluation leads into an improvement stage where I set some goals, I achieved some goals, I'm out here living my best life. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on the way to doing all the things. And inevitably we get to a place where we realize, okay, I can't do all the things all the time because it's just not possible. And it's not possible because I'm unworthy. It's not possible because you're unworthy or less than. It's not possible because, by the very definition, Superwoman, much like Superman, is a mythical creature. That's an alien being from another world. And so the fact that Superwoman can do all these things and do them all flawlessly, that's I'm using a faulty set of standards, faulty metrics for success for myself. And so eventually, after evaluating and going through self-improvement, we get to this place of self-deprecation where we feel like less than because we weren't able to do all the things. And so the other sort of aspect to this Superwoman complex is that, successful modern women have both traditionally masculine and feminine sexual stereotypes. They also, again, like I said, have successful performance in a lot of different aspects of their life, right? So not only do you do all these things, you do all of these things very, very well. And so we're going to chronicle two different sheroes first and foremost, because again, these are very popular characters in current popular culture, and we'll see how they sort of stack up against this myth of perfection and this sort of like Superwoman complex. So first and foremost, Princess Diana, aka Wonder Woman, who first debuted in comics in 1941. So we can even that's a conversation for a different day, right? A female identified superhero in 1941, and so Wonder Woman's character, her leading ideals are all about love and compassion, right? We see, even though for Princess Diana, particularly in the modern day movies, she's so powerful, she's so strong, she's so empathic, she's so loving, and yet she can't have her man. That was the entire plot of the second Wonder Woman movie, right? Right? She does all of these things for other people, but why can't I have the thing that I want most in the world, which is her man? Similarly, Daenerys Targaryen, which again, if you saw season 8 of Game of Thrones, that's a conversation for a different day, right? Like I'm still not ready to talk about it. But Daenerys Targaryen is another one of those characters who has a lot of power, and we see her sort of rise to this power. She starts off as just like, the wife of a king, and then she sort of comes to claim her own power, and that just changes her mentally, and there's like a whole situation. But similarly, she is not able to have children because of this whole like witch spell situation, and she loses her first husband very tragically. And so again, it's one of those women who on the outside it's like, dang, she's living her best life, she got it going on, and yet still she doesn't achieve all of these things that we sort of understand to be things that all women traditionally would want. So moving forward then to talk more about intersectionality and how the Superwoman complex is a little bit different for Black women in particular. And that's because Black women are traditionally marginalized. And so we're always fighting against these negative stereotypes, right? We're always fighting to counteract negative stereotypes. In addition, because of our historical trauma and understanding that our female identified ancestors didn't have these opportunities like we do. Oh, I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to do all the things and I'm going to do them well. And it doesn't matter if my physical health or my mental health suffers because I'm going to do all of these things, right? And I think that one shero in popular culture that just so flawlessly displays this is Olivia Pope from the series Scandal, right? Again, we see a woman who is super powerful. She like works for the president. She's basically like the president. It's like a whole situation. She's just like a badass. But again, her love life is a whole hot mess. I'm sensing a theme here with these sheroes, which again, that's a conversation for a different day. But I think the takeaway message is that again, we see these women. I mean, Olivia Pope, fabulous, dressed to the nines, always looking her best, and yet still she can't get her life together. And so, what this means for us then in the context of self care is, I think for women, seeing these types of characters not being able to achieve all the things is validating, right? I think understanding the dynamics of the Superwoman complex can help us from this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. So, like, not setting ourselves up for that type of failure and suspending those conditions of worth. In therapy, as therapists working with clients, I think these characters can lead to clients feeling a sense of validation. There's increased representation of BIPOC characters in popular culture and more diverse female characters. And I think that in working with women who may be suffering from some of these ills as a result of the Superwoman complex, it's important for us to remain humble and not judge people because of their conditions of worth. And lastly, what I want to say is there were some honorable mentions that didn't make it into the presentation. So if you know who these women are, check them out, check out their movies, check out their comics, and thank you so much for your attention today. Take care.